Hey, it's Rachel Cooke, your modern mentor. I'm the founder of Lead Above Noise, a firm helping leaders activate performance and change without the burnout. We do leader activation boot camps, keynotes, and pulse checks to help build custom blueprints. Let us know what you need. So, are you familiar with the concept of a growth mindset? It's a term that was coined by Carol Dweck, and she defines it as the belief that one's intelligence and other personal characteristics can grow and develop through effort and experience. It sounds a little wonky, I know, but basically, having a growth mindset means you believe you can change and grow by changing your habits, by learning and listening and experimenting with new ways. I first learned about this concept years ago, at both work and at my kids' school. Like, it was following me everywhere. Because how we lead and how we parent can absolutely impact whether we help someone develop a growth mindset or a fixed one. What I most remember taking away as a mom is that in speaking to our kids, we wanted to focus not on who they were, but on what they did. So, for example, if my daughter aced a test, I was supposed to say not something like, wow, you're really smart, or what a great student you are, but instead, I was supposed to say things like, I'm so proud of how hard you studied, or I love that you went for extra help before that test. The focus should be on actions, not the fundamentals of who someone is, because actions ladder up to outcomes. Often at work, we also strive to be a certain way. It's something I hear a lot from clients, like even around innovation. People and leaders just wishing that their teams or themselves could just be more innovative. But innovation, I tell them, isn't a singular thing. It's an outcome of habits and actions that we need to practice and cultivate. So today, if you're someone striving to be or lead a team that is more innovative, let's talk about the habits I would love to encourage you to put on display. First, focus on the problem or opportunity, not the solution. So in running my business, I use lots of different technology products and solutions to send my email newsletters, to manage my invoices, to keep my clients organized, and on and on. And as my poor husband would tell you, I get really frustrated when something doesn't work simply or intuitively. And candidly, a lot of these products don't, at least for me. See, I don't love bells or whistles. I generally want to understand the simplest path to getting something done. And yet so often when I contact customer support at one of these tools, they want to walk me through some fancy set of steps or solutions they've built. Problem is, they've often built something because it excited them, but it doesn't solve my problem. Teams and people need to be more disciplined about really sitting with a problem or opportunity before they start to build a product or solution that they will fall in love with. Innovation isn't defined by shine or polish, but by utility and purpose. As Albert Einstein famously said, if I had an hour to solve a problem, I'd spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about solutions. Wise words, Mr. Einstein. Next up, ask clarifying questions along the way. The next thing to understand about innovators is they're super iterative in how they work. Like if you give them a problem to solve, they don't go off, build a solid plan from A to Z, and then go implement it. In my experience, they ask lots of questions, good ones, and not just at the start, but along the whole journey. Like one client of mine was asked to rebuild a dashboard that sales leaders could use to monitor the performance of their teams. So my client started by asking lots of questions around key performance metrics, primary means of outreach, all to ensure she understood the ultimate purpose of the dashboard. But as she started building it out, she kept reaching out with further clarifying questions about how leaders like to access the data or which points were most critical versus nice to have. By the time she presented the final product, it was nearly perfect. Not because she's brilliant, but because she was humble and curious the whole way through. Next, test, and learn. Being willing to put yourself out there is critical, but safely in contained spaces. I have some clients I work with once or once a year, and others whose teams I meet with quarterly or even monthly. And in these latter groups, I get to know them pretty well, and vice versa. We build a lot of trust with each other. I'm always challenging myself to develop new techniques in designing and facilitating programs and offsites. And it's often with these groups that I get to know well that I do my experimenting. To be clear, I'm never casual or careless. I won't bring in something new to test without careful consideration, but also I can't swear something will be a home run unless I get to test it first, with the right people in the right moments. When we set the stage, we manage expectations, and we actively solicit feedback, there's little we won't have permission to test. With the right clients, I have discovered new ways of co-creating, of uncovering insights, of creating alignment and trust through exercises they've allowed me to play with. And they've helped guide me to the right approach. So where can you find a spot to experiment with a new idea? And what might you have a chance to learn? And finally, consume widely. When I'm working through a problem, I go heavy on learning. I listen to podcasts, read articles, talk to experts, and it's usually not long before I hit a wall. Like everything starts to sound repetitive and I'm still without a solution. So something I challenge myself to do is to move beyond the literal and into the metaphorical. Because I can't believe how often I might find the insight I need in a space that's kind of off base. Like I'll take a critical leadership lesson from a podcast about dog training, or I'll discover a new facilitation technique in an article about a space launch. Sometimes your brain needs the freedom to wander. Tell it what you want to learn, but then let it roam somewhere fresh and off the beaten path. I'd be willing to bet you'll surprise yourself. So there you have my top habits when it comes to cultivating innovation. When you focus on the problem, you ask great questions, you test and learn, and you let your mind wander, innovation will be the thing to find you. But I'd love to hear from you. What habits help you to be your most innovative? Hit me with an email at rachel@leadabovenoise.com and let me know. Join me next week for another great episode. Until then, visit my website at leadabovenoise.com if your workplace could use an activation boost, a boot camp, a keynote, a pulse check, you choose. You can follow Modern Mentor on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks so much for listening and have a successful week. Modern Mentor is a quick and dirty tips podcast. It's audio engineered by Dan Farabend. Our director of podcasts is Brandon Getchis. Our podcast and advertising operations specialist is Morgan Christensen. Our digital operations specialist is Holly Hutchings. Our marketing and publicity associate is Davina Tomlin. Our marketing contractor is Nathaniel Hoops.